Welcome to another interesting episode of the Weekly Wowos. My name is Dennis Musali, your weekly host, and as always, I have our editor at Kawowo Sports, Mr. Franklin Kawowo, also a connoisseur in basketball. But that should be a title reserved for the man himself, Joseph Man Muhumuza. Joseph Man Muhumuza, and we're back for another interesting episode of the Weekly Wowos. A lot of sport happened this weekend. I've just been educated on where Buwekula comes from. Buwekula is Mobende, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Buwekula winning the Uganda Masaza Cup by a single goal to nil against Singo, which is from
Michiana.
Same
road.
Same road.
Yep.
Oh yeah, same road. Neighbors. Must have been hectic on that road going back between the fans. We are usually used to. It had sort of been accustomed to Budu and Gomba, the two teams in the finals of the Masaza Cup, but this time Buwekula winning it for the first time. A very, very nice video done by Kawowo Sports, by the way, at that event. I'm sure Fred will find it somewhere and he will show it to you, but very, very nice video of the Kabaka arriving for the final.
Yeah.
And well done to the team as usual. But Buwekula at I think one of the few occasions where the Ham Stadium will always be full will be every time they host the Masaza finals.
Yeah. Ideally, I happened to be there for that event for the finals.
I haven't been to the new Ham Stadium.
It was my first time as well. I had been resisting going there even for league football matches, but I mean, when work calls, the option is almost not there.
But Franklin, thank you for coming back with your phone. The biggest headline from that weekend was, unfortunately, CPM losing his phone, the Prime Minister of Uganda losing his phone at the Ham Stadium.
You have
which overshadowed the actual sporting activity that happened.
You know, this daring haste that are done by guys that know that can happen. Those all like Jibba, the guys like Zingina Balagira Kobo. And then it happens because there's a lot of security around CPM. So how the guy has accessed the iPhone, we shall never know.
But I mean, downtown anything can happen.
Kampala Sibizimbe clearly, but kudos to Buwekula for doing for winning the Masaza Cup for the first time. But on this episode, we're going to be unpacking what is happening. There's a dictator, they are learning, they are starting to grow. Franklin will tell us more about that. But also Blazers, by the time we did the show last week, they were trailing 2-0 to the City Oilers. But a week later, things have changed, and they are now ahead in the best of 7 series in the NBL finals. They are 3-2 up, and if they can be able to, they can close it out on Wednesday. But if they don't, then we shall have a game 7 on our hands. Yeah. And also, we are getting closer to the business end of the Uganda Cup. So Joseph Man Muhumuza will be telling us a lot about that. But before we do that, let me start with starters from Franklin first this time.
Wow. Start of the week. Very, very nice shows. I think when we had just started this show back then, I talked about how one of, and that was during the women's edition, I think. I talked about how one of my best, I think, women in sport is Hope Akelo. And Axie. And she continues, to show that, winning the MVP for a third year, running MVP over the playoffs.
Becoming a dictator of her own.
She's a dictator. She's dictating that finals MVP. Winning a third consecutive title. Even when she plays so bad, she still stands out of her peers. And for me, whatever run that the JKL Dolphins have put on over the past 3 seasons, it has been all about Hope Akelo. And when she delivers, JKL is humming. When she doesn't, there are struggles here and there. And for me, I cannot get enough words to describe her work ethic and the amount of kind of how easy she makes the game a bit easy for her teammates and all that. And for me, This week, nothing beats what she has put out there over the past seasons.
Yeah, and
in
actually,
basketball.
I've seen her do some mentorship work with the Sorority Cricket Academy,
Yeah.
which is very good. One of the reasons for me I really like her is that she's a vice captain of the Gazelles, and she's one of the local players that command a starting place. She's not an afterthought.
Yeah.
When you're making the starting five,
She has to be there.
she has to be there. So I mean, it's you want to compare it to normally other teams, including our own cricket team. The local players are not so much. They are an afterthought. Yeah, but Axie really commands the starting position on the starting five of the Gazelles. So
And she's that good.
yeah, and it's good to see that. I mean, she's still. She can find the balance between work and then playing as well, and also still remain top of her game. So.
And you see, again, I don't know if it is even something that needs to be said, but apparently she has run out of contract with JKL.
Could you
What
would be her most
at the end of this season?
what would be her most likely destination if she's not staying with JKL?
Would you let her go?
Of course not, but
Of course not.
for the right price. she
No,
can leave.
for now, I think the only destination for any other player, good player who wants to keep at that level, I think is either you're going to JT Jaguars or KCCA, but the program at KCCA is not a bit stable, if I may put it that way. So if anything, right now, if you're leaving, whether you CU, JKL, whichever team, as a top player, I think the destination should be JT
Jaguars.
Yeah, because it's the next best at this moment.
Can they afford her?
And
Can they afford her?
I'm told they have some money.
Yeah, maybe for the right numbers, we'll find out next year. Joseph, your starter for the week.
My starter for the week is also another upcoming dictator. Victoria University won its third in a row University Sevens championship, having first won it in 2023, and now they have won it again in 2025. So those are 3 years in a row. And something that is worthy to note about their dictatorship is that they have won all the circuits from 2023, and they only lost 1 circuit, which the Uganda Matters University of Nkozi won, and so that makes it about 8 out of 9 circuits and 3 trophies for them in that period. So that is my starter.
Oh wow! Very well done to the Victoria Sharks. They have success. Last week, you said that the quality is not so much to write home about.
Yes, the quality of their 15s
right.
is a bit lacking, but the quality of the 7s is up there. Dennis, something that you should notice that for university sports, the player must be 27 and below. And most of the players that they have in their 15s team are somewhere in the ranges of Franklin or something, or yourself. so surely they can't feature for the university team, but the players that are playing for them for the university team as well playing elsewhere. For example, Stuart Moore is playing at Cobbs, but he was out of action this weekend. There is also Daniel Otim, who plays for Buffaloes. There is Humphrey, who played the full 80 minutes for Buffaloes on Saturday when they were losing to Cobbs, and then played on Sunday as well. So they have some good players that are playing for their university side, but also playing for different clubs.
All right. Shouldn't Makerere sort of be the leading team in university rugby by referencing it to, having Impis as the team that represents them in the rugby?
Well, that is the same difference that I've drawn earlier on, is that players from other clubs are allowed to play for their universities, for their institution. Now, for Makerere, first of all, it's admission by merit. So you'll sieve out a few people here and there who would ideally have fair grades, but they can't make it to the university, but they play for other clubs and they are very good. Now you find that most of the players that are playing for Makerere right now are either not starting at their clubs or they are junior players at their clubs. For example, the 2 players that had been featuring for them are very well. One player who is playing very well, some kid called Job, Mbabazi. He played for Namilyango last year. Now he passed by Cobbs, went to Eagles, but currently training with the Makerere Impis because he joined the university. But he has been very brilliant for them, but cannot lock down a place in his club. So the quality there sort of doesn't match up.
The man is being smart about saying that other universities just give things away like that.
My thought was that everyone who plays for Impis is actually a university student.
No, majority of them are, but not all of them. For example, Henry Sekuye left the university after I don't know how long because he was doing architecture. So he was there for about 5-6 years and then he left, went to South Korea, and now he's back. So there are always those exceptions that can always play from around the community because there is a very large community around there. People from Mulago, Chikumi, even the Makerere quarters themselves, there are players from there. But the majority are university students, but everyone is welcome.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Man is welcoming them like it's part of he's talking about his own. I thought we would make a patch for him this because they did not do anything over the weekend. They were not engaged.
Somehow, Joseph is an ambassador for the team. Inevitable not to speak about them every other time we have a show. My own starter this week will be from. I spent the whole week with the London Nigerians. The guys, Nigerians who live in London. They were here to play a couple of games, but I think they played more games off the pitch than on the pitch. I've never been so exhausted in my life the whole week. A minimum 3 hours of sleep maximum with them, but I think they had a wonderful time in Uganda. It's the sort of stuff that I think we need to tell a lot of these Ugandan stories that people come here with a different perception, and then when they leave, you sort of change that perception. Only after they can only have that experience only when they come here, and then they're like, hey, okay, this was wrong, and things like that. So you sort of change the narrative, but they come here with a different idea. But they only able to play 3 games because of the rain. They won 1, lost 2. But on the overall, I think they had such a wonderful experience in Uganda. We as Ugandans, as usual, we go out of our way to put on a show for visitors.
You always
After that,
do
they tell you, take back the cups. They were only here for the visitors, but they had a wonderful time in Uganda, honestly. And I hope that I learned this when we were in Zimbabwe, that there's a lot of things that we are not doing maybe as Uganda to be intentional in terms of being a sports tourism destination. There are a lot of things that people can do rather than just you can say, there's a school from the UK that want to come here and visit and play rugby. But ultimately, they can, in that rugby experience, they do so many other things because the guys went to Jinja, they visited all the nightclubs in Kampala, they had a CSR activity at Nagoro Infant School. So they did so many other things, and that really left a big impression on them. Because when they left, the team leader was asking me, we met a boy that we want to support. We thought of some business opportunities that we did some research, and they told us there could be opportunities. So on the overall, UTB now was the last week very, very well.
I mean, that's the kind of people Ugandans want to have. I mean, you always want to represent the country like in the best terms possible.
Exactly. And I hope that different sports can pick up on this for us to be able to attract some of these. You just never know what could slip through the cracks from having an interaction with people who come to visit the country. So the London Nigerians team, we hope that you can be able to come back to Uganda sometime very soon.
Are they like some sort of bagulus?
Yes, there are some sort of bagulus. So they were not very hard cricketers, but most of them have played for Nigeria in the past. So, but now they are, they continue to play, they enjoy to enjoy and play the game, but not at a very high level. So even the teams they played here were not. It wasn't cricket cranes action.
It was you.
Playing against Dennis. Dennis and Davis.
I was trying to exclude myself, but I hit a couple of sixes.
Yeah.
They rather were not happy like, but Dennis, what would you last night? Now you're hitting the ball very far. Hit here, don't hit outside the road. Yeah, but overall, I think they had a wonderful experience, and hopefully they can be able to come back. But they travel around the world, so I don't know when Uganda's opportunity will come back again. Maybe in the next round it will be the first pick before they decide to go to those many other different places. But to get into the show proper now and start unpacking it, let's start with the rugby. Start with the rugby. This weekend, the Uganda Cup returns. Business end as teams try to make it for the quarterfinals.
Yeah, teams are trying to make it to the quarterfinals, but the problems, those hiccups that have been happening from the opening weekend are still happening in the Uganda Cup. We are having cricket scores, we are having walkovers, we are having teams pulling out of the tournament mid-tournament. So it is still the same ugly scene, but we shall always highlight those issues, but let us concentrate on those ones who want to play. And those ones who want to play, I'll start with the Cobs. The Cobs really wanted to play.
I think everyone wants to play. It's
and
just
the
that,
Buffaloes didn't. Not even the ones that show up. You will show up, but you don't want to play. For example, how can the Buffaloes lead about 13-3 and then they fumble that due to, poor discipline? Why are you getting 2 yellow cards in the last 10 minutes of the game? It was quite immature of them, and they lost that game against the Cobs. Then you find the Walukuba, should we call them barbarians or Trojans? Walukuba sent a very young team, very young, very inexperienced, and they only had 2 players from their sevens featuring for that team. And that team got a very serious walloping from the Pirates that was at full strength, were they to not. The Pirates were at full strength. Roy Chizito scoring 4 tries, with all their senior players in there. And for me, what I always look out for when I see that Pirates team is I always think about the bench. Pirates will always come and they are full strength, the first team that is starting, and then their bench is as strong as the team that is on the pitch, and that always causes problems for teams on any given day. So those are some of my takeaways, but also from the women's game, I got news from the She-Wolves. They were playing in Mbale. Somehow this time their ambulance was well equipped. I don't know how, but but from the person, from the people I was talking to who are down in Mbale, they said the ambulance has always been well equipped, but it is those technicalities in order to award favorable walkovers to certain teams that, sort of get them trapped up in that whole controversy of not having a well-equipped ambulance. But when the She-Wolves played, Gladys Wilembe, who has played for the Uganda Sevens before, and she has been the captain of the She-Wolves from Mbale, also in the Sevens. I think she was the top try scorer of the weekend with 8 tries. She put 8 tries against my cousins of the Chigezi Silverbacks. The Chigezi Silverbacks receiving 100 points on the day and not scoring any of their own. But Gladys was the MVP.
Does that mean the
match.
team has to travel from Chigezi to Mbale?
Yes, from Kabale to Mbale. I think that was about
600 plus?
around 600 kilometers just to play a game of rugby and receive all those points, which also takes us back to, sort of the Uganda Cup format sort of being flawed, because now teams are covering that distance, teams are playing more games, and, you've increased the games, but the funding hasn't increased. So that is another point that needs to, be revisited and sort of reviewed, and they come to something that is more practical and more workable.
Yeah.
So that, some rugby gets played and quality rugby. So that we stop seeing all these walkovers. We stop seeing all these, very high scores. We see teams, staying in the tournament until the point when they exit, when they exit on sporting grounds, not because they are lacking players, not because they have injured players and they can't afford to travel and all that, that is happening in the Uganda Cup right now.
Yeah, maybe just to ask, why after a very wonderful 7th season, you thought Waluku would try and establish themselves as a rugby powerhouse as well? Why have they shown little interest in the Uganda Cup?
The Walukuba have been intention on failure, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but when I was talking to Coach Leo, he said that the Uganda Cup isn't sort of their priority right now. They have just come back from the sevens. They used about 18 players in the sevens. One of the players who played for them over the weekend, Ahmad Sechanzi, got injured in the Entebbe circuit, and so for him he has been having a little bit of rest, and now he's back into the 15th team. But also Coach Leo was talking about looking within the club and looking from the other clubs and around the country, and also probably outside, whether they can bring in some talent to sort of beef up their 15th team. I think a season before last, they had the Kenyan international who played for the Kenya under-20. He was called Ido Kuta, very good eighth man, but now they got into a contract dispute, and Victoria wanted to shop him without proper compensation, and Waluku was said, this is it with you, so he went back to Kenya. So that shows us that Waluku actually has the ability to recruit even from outside our borders. But if at all the plan is to sort of promote those talents that they have right now within the Trojan system, then we can all agree that those players are not ready, because this showing that they had against the Pirates, losing 98-10, and then hosting the Mongas and losing, I think it was 13-8. This team isn't ready. The players that they have within those ranks aren't ready yet. So they probably have to look from outside and, sort of get in a player or two, especially in those key pack positions, because we know them, they're a backline team. They love running rugby, but you cannot run away from the scrums. You cannot run away from the lineouts. You cannot run away from, the contact. So you actually need the personnel that can execute, in those areas of play.
I want to believe when you say their intention about failure, it's kind of an overstatement, if I may put it that way. I think their intention about success, but the success they want is not in the Uganda Cup.
Oh, okay.
They want it somewhere else. I think one of the things that
I was just thought about Uganda Cup is 15 rugby. If you
it is.
If you want to prepare for the next season,
the league. So, something that Coach Leo has talked about progressively is that he wants his side to close that gap with the top three sides, and for him, he says, I mean, 2 years ago he said that he's going to start that with the sevens, and then he gets to the 15s rugby, but not exactly as the Uganda Cup. The Uganda Cup is in idea is supposed to start the season, not to end the season.
Yeah.
And I think for me, what Coach Leo is looking at starting the 15s league next year, when he has some young boys who are ready, who can step in and cover a few gaps here and there. Yeah. I think while their intention about not being so competitive in the Uganda Cup, but the intention is to give boys exposure and then get them ready for the league when it comes around early next year.
All right, Joseph, what should we be looking? Which fixture should we look forward to this weekend?
There are lots of fixtures, but I think by now,
the ones that
the quarterfinals have been decided, and it's quite clear that some teams have made it. Heathens and Impis have made it. Or Impis and Heathens, they have made it to the quarterfinals, which leaves the Victoria Sharks out. For the Pirates group, the only fixture to look forward to in there was the fixture against the Mongas, but then the Mongas had the rest weekend. The Mongas and the Avengers had the rest weekend where they went to send off a club legend and national legend. So we should be looking out for that Mawolu of the Mongas and the Rams. Yeah. If you love Kanyama rugby, I think that is the proper game to watch. Mbocha of the Mongas, and then I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but Rams, you know the physicality of Rams. The physicality of Rams. Rams bamanyo kujula enkoko. For them, they will understand what I mean. Bamanyo kujula enkoko, especially when they hold you up. You either let go of the ball or the balls, but it's just part of the sport. It's just part of their game plan, maybe. But then the other fixtures I am really looking forward to now. For example, the Elgon Wolves have pulled out of the Uganda Cup. So it isn't exactly a fixture, but I want to see how the Uganda Rugby Union resolves that, whether the points that were awarded to the Victoria Sharks stay or the other teams that hadn't played the Elgon Wolves yet, whether they get that walkover or the points are deducted from the teams that were supposed to play, the Elgon Wolves. But also in the group of the Buffaloes and Chambogo, it isn't so competitive in there because the Buffaloes and Cobs have set themselves apart, and now the only other teams that they were playing within the group were Chambogo and the Fort Portal Tyrants. Chambogo beating the Fort Portal Tyrants this weekend by only a converted try. So I don't know. This Uganda Cup campaign has been a little bit hard to sell. And I by a little bit, I'm very generous. It has been very hard to sell, but I think it was one of those activities.
Will it be
that,
better at the business end where, you have a matchup between maybe Pirates and Cobs or Cobs and Impies, There's a bit more...
Don't mention Imps in these things.
I'm trying to get a good answer out of Joseph.
Yes, before we started the show, Franklin was very confident that his publicly known team, not the one he actually supports, because Cobs. We all know he supports Cobs, but Yekwekamu Pirates. But he was talking about the Pirates winning this Uganda Cup. But then we have to remember that in the competition there are those tournament teams. There are teams that know how to win one game. For example, I've already written off the Buffaloes. They cannot win one game. They can't. If it is a league, they can sort of collect points here and there, but when they need to win that one game, they cannot, as they fumbled it against, the Cobs fairly so. But when you look at the other teams within the competition, Pirates has actually brought out the big guns now, but then you see...
I think they are taking the competition more serious
than everyone else.
And,
yes, but then you see a hidden side.
I mean, they want to get their squad ready. I mean, the rest is going to be very, very small before you get into the league next year. The rest is going to be... So you want to give these guys enough playing time, especially the forwards who are not part of the sevens campaign. So you want them active before they can get too far.
Yeah, I think they are looking at the double right now, but it may not be achievable because there is a hidden team that has also become intentional about this Uganda Cup. They haven't changed a lot in their personnel, but when you look at the players that they have left out, for example, Okenyi and Oren Ofoiroth are currently taking a rest. They are not injured. They are not out of contract. They are just resting. You see, those are players that can come in at the business end and sort of win those games. Then you find a Victoria that had, already their squad sorted, and then they also brought in some players, former Simba's players and, Kenyan players. They come in and now they cannot beat a half-strength Heathens. And that just shows you that this is a competition where you need to win that one game, and once you don't win that one game, now, for example, this is a group. You cannot win a group game. When it gets to the business end, how sure are we that you can win a quarterfinal or a semi-final?
Yeah, in everything Joseph has said, he's mentioned that Heathens is a team that will win the Uganda Cup. So we'll wait and see.
He's a well-wisher. But he talks about other things, but from what I've observed as an outsider, I think Coach Robert Onyango is trying to prepare a whole kind of new team, new setup and all that. And again, Coach Tolly is one of those coaches who rewards performance, should I say excellence. If a young boy is putting in the work, he's going to give that boy playing time. And as we know, he's a disciplinarian. You cannot come with your big head because, say you're Aaron, you're Okenyi, you're Gonya, you're whoever, and think you're going to kind of just walk into the team when the boys have been training throughout the week and are right there seated. And for me, that is my only worry with this is that, look, Coach Robert rewards people who are actually putting in the work in training, and experience is not just they are not just going to walk into that team. Like that. And when you have a coach like that who is going to give the kids an opportunity to play, and that one game will require you to have the experience. But it's where I give probably Pirates the edge.
And you're not thinking about your Cobs, but
No.
But-
Cobs is not serious. It's not a serious team at the moment, and they showed it from the league. In terms of I'm one of the people who had a lot of kind of hope in Timothy Mudola, kind of improving that. But when you're a backs coach, you are back yourself, but you cannot kind of see backline moves in that team. It kind of leaves you somewhere questioning like, and again. Cobs keep switching up on all these veterans in positions. Now over the weekend, of course, you had Ijongat in midfield. Like this kind of tossing around players. You really can't be sure what you're going to get out of them. You can have all that experience in playing rugby, but most of the rugby positions are like specialist positions. You cannot keep trying things here and there, especially with
someone can be versatile across different numbers. I've seen Aredo doing that.
Aredo can do that from.
But we all know where he performs best.
And you're talking about where he performs best, but I would like to highlight where he performed not at his best. Now you get two veterans and you put them in the midfield. You have Aredo defending that number 10 channel. You have Ijongat in there. Then you have my good friend Trevor Tosime, who is quite heavy at center. He will help you very much when you're in possession and going forward with that center crash.
And possession of carrying, not possession of real moving that ball. For an inside center, I think it serves better when you're moving the ball rather than really carrying
then
it.
you're just hogging it, and now the rest of the backline cannot play. But they were really exposed. There's that try that the Buffaloes scored. First of all, I have a bone to pick with the Cobs pack, because the Cobs were awarded a scrum in prime real estate, almost in the 22 of the Buffaloes, and now they have dominated the Buffaloes scrum. The ball is available at the base of the rack, and then the number 9 is watching it, hoping to milk a penalty or something, and then the Buffaloes push back and they lose the ball. Then the Buffaloes regain possession, and from that possession, Douglas Musoke, who is ideally an 8th man or even a lock on some days, was playing center. Now at center, he receives the ball. Who is his opposite man? Joseph Aredo. And who is there? And who is there next to him? Ijongat. So he just ran through untouched. No, but he ran through untouched, and then that's how the Buffalo scored from a phase or two after that.
And obviously, with that 7 form of his that he had, you're always going to expect stuff like that. So for me, that is my major concern with
I'm going to cut the rugby conversation short because
today, but just to conclude on the rugby conversation, when I was watching the Mbale Eagles versus the Panthers game, I noticed that one of the ladies that is involved with the Uganda Sevens, that is Mastula Nambozo, was seated in the stands as her Bali Eagles were getting thrashed. And then we also look at the other teams. For example, the Avengers have about 3 players in that setup. The Thunderbirds have about 5 players in that setup. So after the Rugby Africa Women's Cup, all those players are welcome to play for their clubs. Now, also after the University Sevens, all those players are also welcome to play for their clubs. So there will be a little bit more competition, because for example the Cobs is 9 and 10, that is Stuart Mwai and Gizamba, they are all involved with Victoria University. Why is it?
You think
have some faith.
You think they're going to have some serious turnaround that they're going to make in that Cobs team?
Yeah, definitely, because now you're missing that 9-10 link. As I've just described, that try that they considered, the 9 is 1 second a bit too late to pick out that ball from the scrum, and he knocks it on. they concede. Now, if you have a 9 like Stuart Moy, who is very fast, we all saw what he did to Pirates during the regular season last week when Sempeke put in that drop goal. Sempeke is also out, by the way. So we saw what Stuart Moy did to that Cobs team. Then you have a Calvin Gizamba with a very good bot who can come in at 10, who can come in at 15. So it is going to be a little bit more competitive, I believe so. But for now, it is looking ugly.
Okay, the back end of the Uganda Cup promises to be entertaining, like Joseph has explained. And I'm sure you can find all those details on Kawowo Sports when he writes up those stories and reports from the weekend. Just to switch up the conversations quickly, let's go to the basketball. The basketball, last week when we were here, the Blazers were trailing 2-0 in the best of 7 NBL finals. But a week later, they've turned it around. They are 3-2 up, and they just need one more game, one more push from them, and they will have removed the dictator successfully. But looking at the other final that is involving the ladies, the JKL Dolphins are winning that series, 4-1. Against the JT Jaguars. I know Edwin Kyle Kule loves the JT Jaguars. When I spoke to him earlier, I said, that was enough. Getting to the final was an indication of things to
Good
come.
things to come.
Yeah, I wanted to tell him, I think he hasn't played sport. When you finish second is first to lose. Nobody remembers being second. So I do not know of a sportsman who will be content with being second. I don't know how true the story is, but I've heard it somewhere that there was a time the Boca Juniors were so used to winning the Copa Libertadores Cup in South America that one day when they finished second, they just even walked off, and they sort of sent like a fine to the team for going away before giving the awards and all. And then they mentioned that they didn't even know that the person who finished in second gets anything. So that's why. Yeah, but the JT Jaguars unable to overcome the JKL Dolphins, who win their fourth title in a row, third title in a row. And the Dolphins, like Franklin mentioned in the starter, Akelo and the girls making sure of the result. They had to come through a difficult semi-final, but sort of
I think that kind of built them.
Yes, somehow the final has seemed easier than the semi-final for them. But let's. Is there so much talk about the JKL? Last weekend you had mentioned that you don't see JT Jaguars causing them some damage. They have the experience to sort of get over JT Jaguars. JT Jaguars is the second. If you don't from UC, you go to JT Jaguars. If you're not in JKL, you're in JT Jaguars. But I think the big story has been the Blazers coming from 2-0 down and then overturning that to put it into a lead for them. 3-2. They have enough to go over the line on Wednesday and win the championship and prove to everyone that they're the best team on the local scene.
Yeah, I mean, the most neutral fans probably would wish to do that, but I want to take us back a little bit last week when I was talking about one of the biggest undoings of non-Blazers in those first two games is that they were very soft on the screens and they were very soft in transition. And the cleanup job that they did was solving those two problems. And the way they did is that they changed the way they defended against Katikare, who is the biggest scoring threat for the State Oilers. The first two games was getting those switches, as I mentioned last week, that every time he wants somebody in a one-on-one, he always almost going to get it, because when they set up the screen, that is what they are looking out for, and he gets it now. Now Blazers will be happy that they had Tony Drieba back. Actually, he was forced back for that game 3 because their backs were against the wall. His foot injury was not yet completely healed, but he needed to play in order to create some sort of leadership on the floor, if I may put it that way. And in him coming into the team, he changed how the team approaches every game completely. I think he controls possession so well for non-Blazers. And then obviously defensively, he's the one who is picking up Katkari, who is the scoring threat their side. And because Katkari scores almost off a dribble, and when you have a guard stepping up in front of him, it's going to be very, very hard to beat a guard one-on-one. And for me, that adjustment that Nambles has made the whole difference in how they've been able to win some of these games. I mean, Tony Driver distributes the ball so well. I mean, he controls the pace. He commands a lot of respect from the teammates. He basically puts them going kwagala or no going kwagala wali. This is what we are going to play, and they go by that. And in doing that, they have found a lot of success. Still Oilers on the other end, they have made adjustments, but some of the adjustments that they have made have not really paid off. I will give an example of the game they played yesterday, game 5. The coach made the change of getting Edgar Mnawa onto the team. From that side, the role of Edgar Mnawa was kind of to take Peter Obleng away from marking Katkari. But in doing that, Namwomble has also made a response to that by sending on 3 guards. So it meant that whichever kind of switch that you're going to get at the top, Katkari is going to still be guarded by a guard who can take him on one-on-one. So they took away that scoring threat completely. While, of course, as a good player, you're always going to get points. Getting 15 is not going to be an issue. You're always going to get 15, 17, and all that. But the damage that you can create by scoring 25, 30 is taken away, or 40 points taken away. Now, the responsibility now has to go to the other players. And now the guys who have not been scoring, and then you're putting them in a position where it is very challenging. And that's why even when, of course, Rogers Downer got extended minutes, Edgar Mnawa himself got extended minutes, but the production was not there. And
the result is not the same.
It's not the same because they are probably also used to this guy being the
go-to guy. Every time we get the ball, we're giving it to him.
And once that is taken out, it completely changes how they structure the offense, and that has been the biggest undoing for Oilers.
Yeah. Do you think there's a game 7 in this series?
I mean, at the moment, right now, I don't see a game 7. There's some things that are hard to see from Oilers, but I mean, from the facial expression after the final whistle yesterday, you could see a team that has kind of admitted that it is tough out here, because you are not seeing Oilers lose 3 games in a row. This is a first for them. Let alone, of course, they have lost 2 games in a row quite often, even in the quarterfinals to UCA and all that, but they have not lost 3 games in a row. Like, this is a new one for them. And when you're beaten at your own game, where you control the tempo, you know where to attack, when to. Usually, I mean, Oilers usually creates that separation in the third quarter, but even the third quarter, where you usually create that separation is when Namibia kind of still have the control. They kind of still have the head script in the game, even when calls are going the other way. And when you see Oilers reacting to bad calls like that, you know, like, this is a team now that is a little bit under pressure, feeling the heat. At this point, Oilers are really under a lot of pressure, and they have everything to lose on Wednesday. And look, you don't want to play the game when they are now under pressure. Yeah. It becomes very, very, very hard. I don't know what kind of adjustment that they are going to make to kind of get the series to game 7. Yeah. Again, Fayed didn't play a lot of minutes, especially when it was tight. I think he was pulled on the bench, and when I think they were down around 12, 13 points, that when he was brought back in again. And, you know, when you bring in a player to kind of fight from that big deficit, Namong Glazers are good in terms of, I mean, personal experience of Tony, Jimmy, Okero, and Okero stepped up, of course, yesterday. But when a team like that goes 10, 12 points ahead of you, it becomes very difficult. Even when you put on a run, they're still going to get some point and get scoring again. Yeah. So it is very difficult. You cannot allow them to go 8-10 points ahead, and that is what Story has allowed yesterday. It is going to be difficult, and so they have to approach game 6 knowing we cannot give them any kind of gap. What the amount of work they have to put in, especially for Chad Bowie and Katkari, because again these are the dependable players. Obviously, Titus Roy is just hitting his ninja and he's not been very productive. Moses Maka is a bit not willing. He's not a willing screener. He's not a willing player off the ball to come and set a screen near, and make sure you create an open shot for, or get the ball inside when you're down and kick it outside for an open 3-point shot. He's not that kind of player. For him, every time the ball gets to him, thinking scoring, and not really maybe making an extra pass to get a better shot than what he would get inside. And that is what he did yesterday. And number one players are okay with him playing like that, forcing shots and that. So it's something has to change fundamentally for the Oilers to force a game 7.
Okay, champagne on ice for the Namwango Blazers, and Franklin Kawowo has called it that they can start printing the T-shirts for them to wear on Wednesday.
They already printed.
They can start printing the T-shirts for them to wear on Wednesday. That is always risky business. I'm always wondering, do both teams print T-shirts, or
Yes.
the T-shirts are provided by the
Actually,
association?
when there is like a game saying both teams print T-shirts.
So what happens to the team that loses?
They just go and dispose them off.
What a loss. What a loss. But Namwango Blazers can start printing the T-shirts and ready for games number 6 on Wednesday. If they win that one, it's all over. But if the City Oilers are able to come back and level up the series, then we shall have a game 7 over the NBL finals. But before we finish the basketball conversation, let's give some flowers to the JKL Dolphins. For you to be a champion is one thing. For you to remain a champion 3 times in a row is a whole different job altogether.
Before Franklin gives them their flowers, unfortunately, the number 1 fans of the JT Jaguars, the Walukuwa Barbarians, I think they couldn't make it to the arena, and that sort of contributes to that performance and not making it. But for my friends, the Walukuwa Barbarians, since the JT Jaguars are out, you're now free to come back and play rugby.
The full team, I
The
mean.
season has ended.
Yeah, the season has ended, so come back to rugby. Franklin, please.
JKO, they joined the class of now 3. It was only 2 teams that had won 3 consecutive titles. The Bucks, back then in the early 2000s.
I had cousins those days who used to play for Blue Jackets.
Blue Jackets.
Yeah. Blue Jackets.
Yeah. So it was Lead Bucks, and then of course UCU Lady Cannons, and JKL are the 3rd team.
Yeah, that's
to
what
win.
I was asking Kyle earlier on, that before JKL Dolphins came around, who was winning? We are sort of also forgotten the last person who won the men's title before City Oilers.
Yeah. So UCU were sharing titles with KCCA Leopards before JT came in to kind of shake the status quo here and there. Of course, when the Bucks went away, it was now UCU, KCCA. Of course, there was some little bit of A1 challenge around 2010, I think. And then it remained UCU, KCCA sharing. But UCU, of course, was the dominant side because of their sports program at the university. But big ups to the JKL Dolphins, the veterans. I think after being outrun in the opening game of the series, the experience that they have in the team came the forward. On every other game, it was a different person showing up. Rita and Shimwe playing her, I think, 10th, 11th final. And that is, I think, she plays the final almost every season.
Wow.
So Rita and Shimwe, of course, Flavio Kecho came in big in game, I think it was game 4. Again, there are games that, by the way, having to get back Becky Longom into the side changed a little bit the series into their favor, because they had an extra body in the paint to support Hopper Kero and Mima, who plays netball. I mean, she has become so good at basketball that people forget that she's a national team shooter for the She Cranes. So, I mean, the experience in this series came to the fore, and you cannot take away the fact that they won this title very, very, very deservingly. Extremely deservingly.
Yeah, clear. The JKL Dolphins, third title for them and fourth overall.
Fifth, I think.
Fifth overall in ladies basketball. Kudos to them. The ladies, being a consistent champion is not very, very easy.
Yep.
People always want to remove you, but they don't know how much you need to put in for you to remain a champion. So the women's series wrapped up by the JKL Dolphins, but there's still some business to do for in the main series. There could be 2 more games left, or it could be only one. And our resident rugby expert, basketball expert, has told us there is only one more game. There won't be 2 because the Namongo Blazers could be able to wrap up the season on Wednesday evening.
It will be a miracle.
It will be a miracle.
Yeah.
But
disclaimer.
Look, it is sport.
I'm also, frankly, I've also been surprised a bit. I thought the semi-finals had a lot more vibe. One of the games that I went to watch with you, it felt like Summit and City Oilers, and then Blazers and UCU. It felt like there was a lot more vibe in that than the finals itself.
You see, there is pressure. There is pressure even for the fans. You know, they don't want to overput themselves in a position where. It's how you're not game a day, you know. But I think it has gotten some life after these 3 victories, because actually in the first 2 games, everybody has switched off, including among Blazers fans. They were pleasantly surprised by that win in game 3, and then when they won game 4, they started to believe. And right now they're a little bit cocky.
Yeah, they're starting to put up the drafts.
Yes.
I can see the admins on their socials always very, very not very humble in their choice of words. Sometimes you hope that they can make you eat your humble pie, but the captions are always they're insinuating something. You want to hit someone.
They're always poking somehow, somewhere. You know, after statement 1 and statement 2, then work is not done.
Press release, what? The caption is always it's just 1 or 2 words, but it is leading somewhere.
You understand it like
physically.
But I know the small subtle things that have been around. But of course, the sooner Namongo conclude the series, the better for them, because they have to go to for the late 16 in Nairobi.
Yeah, and which is the bigger business for them, I think. I'm sure you'll be there in Nairobi for the Elite 16. But most definitely, make sure you keep it Kawowo Sports. So we'll bring you all those details on who is able to win the championship. Can City Oilers make it 11 in a row? Or can Namongo Blazers win their first league title?
Yeah, and by the way, before we conclude, the teams that are coming into the league next year are also in the playoffs right now, the semi-finals. And so the game that is going to precede that game 6 of Stories and Numbers is a Division 1 playoff, a semi-final playoff at Lugogo. So you get a chance of seeing the teams that are going to join the league now.
That are going to come up.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I think they had to put something first before the main event.
Yeah.
It can't be main event only.
The women conclude their series very fast. People call it a gentleman's sweep, or in this case, a ladies' sweep.
A ladies' sweep. Okay, JKL, like we've said, champions. Namongo Blazers, they can be champions on Wednesday, or they will be made to wait if City Oilers can be able to win. They'll be able to wait if City Oilers can win game number 6 over the NBL finals. Just before you go away, I mentioned that Wanderers, my own Wanderers, may not make the T20. They may not be able to defend their T20 title after losing both games to GM Sugar and Ginger. Thorough beating, by the way, not just losing. That team, GM Sugar, have been promoted to the main league. So it will be interesting to see how they fare. I hope they don't create. I'm not hoping, but they may be creating. That's how Aziz Damani came up. They were so dominant in the lower league, and when they came up, they even became more ambitious when they came to the top flight. Bought a couple of good players,
beat everyone,
and then started their dominance like that. So.
The good news for you then is your Wanderers will be in the quarterfinals, but they'll be beaten. They're in the quarterfinals.
Even in the quarterfinals, I think
they're second
to qualify for the quarterfinals, that result is dependent on there's a game that wasn't played over the weekend between Budo and Tornado B. So there's still it's dependent on that. So we'll have to wait and see if what the official result is before we can start jubilation.
Very unlucky. Very unlucky. Whichever way.
But does he actually want to play the quarterfinals?
No, even if he gets in, he's still not going to go.
The quarterfinal good enough is just a one game. So one of
course, Aboja are playing okay. Tigers. I mean. The team that you beat in the finals last year, they are playing okay as well. Rounders.
Yeah, really, there haven't been surprises in it. It's sort of like the Uganda Cup in rugby. The obvious guys have come through. Apart from GM Sugar, because but last year GM Sugar is like Rounders, because Rounders was also from the second division, and they went all the way to the final. So there hasn't been any surprises. But we'll wait and see what happens when the group games conclude. This weekend, and then we shall find.
Hitting sixes against Nigerians, but
my sixes I was hitting against, people. The competition was different. I was wasting the sixes against the competition was different. Honestly, there are more agile boys in the T20 league. Ceylon Lions playing well as well. So. It's been really the usual suspects getting through to the business end of the tournament, but that has been. That will be the end. Today we're trying to do something different, but I'm sure we have not succeeded. But that will be our time. That will be our time on the weekly Wowos for this week. We've been able to unpack a lot of Uganda Cup rugby, the NBL finals, JKL Dolphins winning that, and then the Namongo Blazers, champagne on ice for them. And Franklin has recommended that they start printing those T-shirts because on Wednesday they could be crowned champions of the NBL men's finals. A bit of cricket, and Buwekula winning the Masaza Cup, and the Wanderers are bowing out of the UGT20 championship.
And obviously, one of the under-17 playing the World Cup starting on Wednesday.
Yeah, the under-17 boys, by the way, the Cubs in Doha. Qatar trying bossing it with the best. One of the interesting things about that is a friend of mine is going to be doing commentary on that championship, and he was asking me for a lot of information about our boys. I don't know if I could say this, but when I looked at the team, not that a lot of the boys are familiar, I told him I think the only name I can make out is Magogo Shakul. He's the son of the president of the FA. I don't know a lot of the other boys, but
Yango's very own.
Our own Joel Muita is the only one who could save me. He gave me a lot of information about the boys, and hopefully interesting names in there, some of the boys. And for me, I'm happy to see boys who come from this academy. We even featured it on Kawowo, the Massacre El Cambio. I hope a lot of boys can, this can
players,
be
real ball players.
Yeah, real ball players. I hope this can be a stepping stone for them to bigger things.
Yeah. And I mean, these youth tournaments have a lot of scouts, international scouts, and this is when, as a player, you need to put your best foot forward. And you're hoping that
under 17, hopefully you're also under 17. You may have say under 17.
Usually these tournaments, of course, are very genuine under 17 because they are you eliminated. They do your bone scan and your 30, my guy. Talk.
Good luck to the Uganda Cubs when they start. They're playing against France.
They're starting with Canada, and then I think France.
I'm forgetting the other one. Is it Uruguay? It's a South American team. It's a South American team, but it's just gone out of my head. So good luck to the boys, and hopefully they can go. Our own Brian Senyondo in charge of that team. Yep. By our own, I mean KCC. So our own Brian Senyondo in charge of that team, and good luck to the Cubs at the World Cup.
The ring man.
The rings.
Good luck to the Cubs when they start their journey at the under 17 World Cup in Doha, Qatar. But I've been your weekly host, Dennis Musale. I've had the pleasure of having Franklin Kawowo, our Kawowo sports editor, and resident rugby connoisseur, Joseph Man Mahomes. And until next time, make sure you keep reading Kawowo Sports.